allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we remain standing, everyone, before we move on, I'd like to have a moment of silence at this time for the victims of the tragic bus accident that had happened down in the Towanda Area School District that had killed a bus driver and one of the students. One of the vans, I'm sorry. It did take the life of a Towanda van driver as well as one of the students down there. So could we take a moment of silence for these folks? Thank you. All right. Now we can get to our special presentation. And if we can have the members of the FBLA, I know a few of those guys, if you want to come up and fill us in on what's been going on this year, folks.
Hello. Thank you for having us this evening. I am with some of our amazing FBLA members. This year we had 37 members, which we were up from last year, so that's our first positive. Out of those 37, 23 competed at the state level, where we found some amazing success, which just went along with our motto that we had this year: success starts with Sarah FBLA. So we had Liam Berry, who took 6th in word processing, Brooke Romig took 9th in business management, Emily Chilson and Reagan Parrish took 10th in network design, and then in our middle school round, we had Kaylee to take 1st place in computer slideshow, and Regan Chapman 2nd place in business concept. In addition to these individual accomplishments, our SARE FBLA placed 9th in the state for largest per capita state project contribution, which, if the records I looked at are correct, is our first chapter award since 2014, so we're pretty proud of that. And it's from us donating over $830 to the state project, which this year was the American Red Cross. A key goal set by our officer team this year was to revive participation in the state community service project, and our members sure did deliver. Beyond the financial donation, we also hosted a successful community-wide blood drive, where we collected 21 units of blood to help those in need across the country. While we will soon say goodbye to many dedicated senior members, we are incredibly proud of their legacy and excited for the continued growth and impact of SARE FBLA. We came here tonight to extend a heartfelt thank you to the school board, administration, parents, and faculty and staff for your continued support. The individual and group success our chapter achieved this year would definitely not be possible without each and every one of you. So thank you very much for your continued support, both inside the classroom and out. And some of our members would like to share with you what they've learned so that hopefully that continued support can happen in future years.
Hello. Yeah, it was a really good experience. We learned about leadership and business, and some of the workshops were really interesting. We learned about AI as a tool, using AI in business and in education as a tool. And it was just good to make connections with a lot of other kids there from other schools like Athens and Wyalusing and Towanda. It was just good atmosphere, I think.
Hello, I'm Emily Chilson. It was definitely a fun trip. I know I definitely learned a lot about money management, which was very helpful since I will be moving away to college in a few months. And it was just fun to meet new people who had the same interests in business and other activities.
Hi, I'm Maggie. It was a great experience to learn a lot about the presenters and how they kind of came to how they got their jobs and stuff. We learned a lot about money management, debt with going to school, and also I'm not even going into business, but it's just really nice to learn those foundation skills on how to save your money.
I'm Morgan. It was a great experience and had a lot of fun. I met a lot of new people, and it was really nice to meet the college professors there because it just gave
personal invite to come to the events surrounding graduation, baccalaureate, the senior banquet that's going to be on May 27th, and then of course have you at graduation. I know Mrs. Shedden sent out an RSVP link, so if you haven't already done so, we hope that you RSVP to come to what will definitely be a beautiful and heartfelt send-off for these seniors.
Thank you so much, FBLA folks. And I'll tell you what, this has been one of the more successful groups here at SARE that ever since my kids were in school, and probably even beyond that. And you guys just kept the tradition going. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to add on? Okay. Other than that, we're going to ask for public comment, so the chair will recognize any resident or taxpayer of the SARE Area School District wishing to address the board about title programming or any matter of concern or interest properly raised in a public session. Please give your name and address and subject of the content you will be addressing. It's requested that comments be kept to 3 minutes. Moreover, please note that the comments relative to private student or employee matters should be directed to the interim superintendent outside of this meeting. So at this time, is there anyone that would like to make a public comment? Okay, then we're going to move right along with the agenda. We'll start with the consent agenda. Item number 2 is the minutes, and that is for work session, the board meeting on April 22nd of 2025. Item number 3 is the instruction part where field trip requests are. That's letter A. And then letter B, the school calendar final, the 25-26 school calendar as presented. Letter C is the letter of agreement for the Bradford Sullivan Drug and Alcohol Authority that provides services here to our district. Item number 4 is consent for the bills to be paid, listed in your packet on May of 2025. And I'll keep going here. Item number 5, the personnel. The board has listed some of the personnel to take action on as well. And then after we get done with the consent agenda, we'll also have Mr. Claypool, if you would give us his presentation of the 25-26 budget. So we have a motion and a second on the consent agenda. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Questions or comments? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Mr. Claypool, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you. I always kind of chuckle when I start these now because I think my first one had a crowd of 450 people, give or take. My first budget presentation back in 2018 or 17. That was also the time when the lights went out because we had a huge thunderstorm outside as I just started my presentation, and you could hear the water running down through the hallway over there because we had a roof issue, so we've come a long way. So basically where we're at, today's May 5th, so we'd like you, if everybody's agreeable, to adopt the proposed final budget tonight. There's a 30-day review period where we'll be posting tomorrow on the website, and we'll put copies in the business office for anybody from the public who would like to review the budget. And then we'll be back on June 16th for adoption of the final budget as we go. This year, pretty close to last year, the revenues and expenses each go up by about $260,000, but revenue $22.8 million, expenses $22.8 million, and a net gain of about $1,300. As you guys know, this is kind of where we start every year. We usually hopefully end up better than that by the end of the fiscal year, but just where we're starting. Talking about fund balances, so you can kind of see by category. The first one's non-spendable, so that's your pens, papers, all that kind of stuff that you have from year to year that you have to account for. Our assigned fund balance has gone up about $400,000 so far this year. We're projecting for the end of this year from the actual last year from 1.5 to 1.9. There were some transfers you guys just approved at the last meeting that a lot for all of that basically, and then we're thinking our unreserved fund, which we have to keep under 8% or in terms of taxing purposes, but that's 1.8 million, and we're going to end up around 1.68, so a little over $200,000 gain there. We also wanted to note, because it's not a fund balance, but as we've spoken about a bunch of times, the capital fund, we put over 4 million, almost 4.5 million into the capital fund over the last 3 years, and most of that was how we worked our ESSER money. We didn't want to apply our ESSER money to staff and then have a big gap when ESSER money ended, so we were moving basically anything we used the ESSER money on staff for into the capital fund, because we knew we'd have some projects coming up in the next year or two that we wanted to use for that money. So you can just kind of see from 18-19 where we are now. So we're gained over 3 million in that time frame, plus the roughly 4.3 million. We had 100,000 in capital back in the day, but gains we've made in the district since 18-19. So moving in a fairly decent trajectory there. Revenues. You can see 23-24, we were up over 25 million. This current year is 22.5. Next year we're looking around 22.8. A lot of that in 23-24 was ESSER money that goes away. That's why you see decreases. We're basically just a hair over 1% in terms of increase for revenue for 25-26. Local sources stay pretty flat. Small gain in state resources. And then a drop in federal. Some of the gain in state is a shift from federal to state, so it's just a paper move. It's not a loss in federal and a gain in state. It's just kind of we had to move from one source to another in terms of coding. So that's the revenue. You can see everything stays pretty much the same. We are proposing a 1% real estate increase this year. But you can see the taxes actually go down a little bit, and that's because of the money we get from the state for their the gambling revenue that gets dispersed to all the schools in the state. We got I think it was 117,000. It'll be on the upcoming slide, but so it actually, even though we're proposing a 1% increase, is basically a flat line, a couple of bucks less per taxpayer a year, and a little bump in earned income, and then our interest on investments, which is just the money that's in all our various accounts. Interest rates are dropping, so we're projecting a decrease there of roughly 10%. So in terms of real estate, we talked about this a little bit, but 6.4, our actual was a little bit higher than that. You can see we're proposing the tax increase to 58.23 from 57.654, which is a 1% increase, so right around $500,000. And then the state property tax relief for gambling fund money that I was talking about is 117,000 extra, so that factors into our homestead farmstead exclusion, which you guys will be voting on, I think, at the next meeting. We have to put that money in there, and then that increases the deduction for each taxpayer, or each person that owns a home in the district. This next slide just kind of shows you our Act 1 limit is what we can tax to. According to the state of Pennsylvania last year, I think it was 7.3. This year it's 5.7. Each year we did a 1% increase, and this just kind of goes through and shows you what the millage would be if we went to the cap and how much extra revenue that would be, roughly 344,000. If we went to the cap, just kind of for informational purposes. That one. Student enrollment, and when we get into the state one a little bit, this is one of the things where the state formula has 1,000 different factors that go into it, but one of it's a 3-year rolling enrollment criteria, and we're into the phase now where our numbers are dropping. So, I think now we're like 2021 to 22, 23 or something like that. So there's been a decrease. Our basic ed funding actually went down like $30,000 from last year. We're the only school with, there might be one other school that has a basic ed funding. We pick it up other places, but we're one of the only ones that has a basic ed funding decrease. That's because we're in that downslide with students. You can see 23, 24 to this year, we went down, but it's kind of leveled off a little bit. 859 last year, 847 this year, so we're hoping that trend continues in terms of the leveling. State revenue sources, this is what I was talking about. You can see the base ed from 24, 25 to 25 to 26 went down roughly almost $30,000. Cyber charter transition this year, we got $33,000 for that. We're not sure, we haven't heard anything about that, but next year we're not sure if that's going to be in the budget or not. So we put that in as 0 right now. One of the things that helps us is the adequacy money that the state's done. You can see the Ready to Learn Foundation was 201, well 202 this year. Next year it's going to be 288. That's that 85,000 in adequacy that gets rolled into that next year. Plus we get an additional 86,000 next year. That's supposed to happen for the next, I think, 6 years after this. So 6 years after the 25, 26. We'll be gaining that money. So if that continues, where the money bumps up every year by the 86,000, and then we get an additional 86, that's obviously helpful to what we're looking at. But it's not quite keeping up with our expenses, but we're still doing all right at the moment as long as we stay consistent and conservative in our spending. Special ed goes up basically by the amount of basic ed goes down, so it kind of evens out those two funding streams for us. On the expense side, everything's fairly normal-ish. You can see 200,000 gain in regular ed over last year in terms of expense increase. Special ed's pretty much the same. Special ed, I'll tell you right now, is just, that can change pretty significantly if we have one kid go to a, placement in the state that's not us. We have a bill for one kid that's like over $200,000 right now. So you get one or two of those and that increases your cost pretty dramatically. So right now, all the puts and takes are basically leaving it at even, but if we get a couple of kids that go to like serve or something like that, then we'll have an increase. I think we planned for one, but if we get two, that'll be a cost. VOCAD goes down a little bit. That's basically, the biggest part of that is there has been a bond payment that we've been making to the Career Center for a number of years, and that ends this year. And that's most of the savings there that you see. We lose a little bit on the revenue side of that, but overall, that's what you see as savings. Here's just kind of some of the big movers and changers. Our SOLA cost, which is our internal thing. We budgeted pretty high this year, just based on some previous things. That's a little bit lower coming into next year. We're thinking more 120,000 as opposed to 160 right now. Our regular, we break our charter out by regular ed and special ed. Our regular ed, we look to go up about 50,000. Our special ed goes down by 60, so it's I think this year we had 805 budgeted. We're going to be right about on that number. Next year we're budgeting 795. And again, that's one that can change. One family, 5 kids decides to go to charter school, and then that changes by quite a bit. Our last serve, we had a couple of kids that served that aren't going to be there next year, and our blast went down a little bit, so that's a fairly large savings there. But again, we don't know that we have anybody necessarily targeted to go at this point, but we could next year, and that would change the number back. And then the VOTAC we already talked about, 70,000 less, but then we also lost 35,000 in plan containment to offset that debt systems, again, nothing too significant here, changes, admin goes down a little bit, everything else goes up a little bit. Maintenance goes up by 100,000, that's about the biggest one. Everything else, basically just cost of doing business. Things that changed, we had 80,000 in for legal fees and audit. We're not anywhere near that this year, so we're dropping that a little bit for next year. Our travel for superintendent, we're assuming going to decrease by a bit next year. The maintenance tech services goes up 44,000. They along with our technology department have asked for like an inventory system that'll tell them how many light bulbs we have and how many this we have and that we have, so they can be a little more proactive around their ordering, what they have and how they do it. We should be more efficient in terms of serving our district in terms of having what we need when we need it. Electricity goes up by 50,000. There's been a change in, I don't know if you read about it, it's either 13 or 17 states that bid out every so many years their electric costs. They hadn't done it for several years in COVID, and they caught it at a good time for people because it was at a pretty low rate, like $27 or something. And it's going up to like $240 or $250 with the next change. So talking to our folks, talking to some other districts, we think it's probably going to increase our electrical cost by about 50,000. So it's not more usage, it's just higher cost. That also hit all of us in terms of our personal homes and such as well. So that'll be a lot of fun. Bus monitors, we've been talking about that lately. If we go that route, we budgeted $75,000 for that. And then contracted carriers, we were projected to be a little bit less, but that will depend on where it comes in terms of the RFP that we just put out for the transportation services. We also included in that RFP a new run that was like a late bus run, we call it, for kids that are doing activities or kids that are in athletics or something. We'll run somewhere after 5 o'clock, around 6 o'clock, something like that. And we also included the van runs that we currently do as a district just to see where they come in. So that could be 330, that could go up. We're not really totally sold on that number yet. We'll know in the next month as we get the RFPs and stuff. Non-instructional, pretty much everything pretty consistent there. Scholarships and awards is just a new piece we added in with some foundations. It actually has mainly to do with the Stanley Conklin Award, which we had for a bunch of years, but we no longer have, but we still have cost on the books that people could use from previous scholarships, so we have to budget a little bit in there just in case we have that cost, so that's new this year. Other expenditures, this is one of the things that moved to the 2,600 line to increase, copier leases, so that's moved. You can see our interfund transfers went down. We talked about this at the finance committee, and I believe we went and talked about it at one of the board meetings as well. We typically schedule about $275,000 to transfer through the year in the capital budget. We decreased that to like 125 this year to help tie the budget out a little bit. So that's why that one drops. Then we get into the employee salary and benefits. You can see 16.3 of the 22.8 is salary and benefits. Because we're doing some shifting around some positions and things, it's about a 2.3% increase, even though there's more significant increases in that, and just in terms of salary increases and health insurance and stuff like that. But you can see support admin, professional staff, other where we sit for each of those lines. This is the 72% basically goes to salary and benefits. I think last year it was either 66 or 68. It bumped back up a bit because we had a lot of the benefits that were tied in salary to the ESSER money, which then bumped it out of this and into those things. So that's come back now. This is kind of, I said the last couple of years it wasn't a very super true picture, but this year it's a bit more true. So 72, and that'll probably keep going up, and then 28% of our budget spent on everything else. terms of staffing, just kind of where we are, professional staff, this year we had 77 budgeted, next year we have 75. One of those was a teacher that left very early in the 24-25 school year, I think, or right at the end of the 23-24. But we had it budgeted, and the position just wasn't filled. And then there's one for next year where we're thinking we're going to be increasing our history staff basically by one person retired. We're probably not going to fill that position. Doesn't look like we have to at this point for a long time. Support staff, that's always based on the number of folks who have the need in the special education part of the district, and so that's projected to be up to, for next year, I think we've actually added those 2 positions this year. We just didn't have budgeted at the start of the year. Non-bargaining, that's basically our bus or our van drivers and those kind of things, so that's going to go from 3 to 2, and administration is 13. Teasers, just this slide's been on here since I started. You can see it's leveled out, but as I point out every year, it levels out at a horrifically high rate, 34%. If this went back to like 2012, 2013, I think the rate was like 12% then. So it increased a ton, and it doesn't look like it's going to go down anytime soon. But I guess you can say the positive, has leveled out, so you know, I guess that's something, but it's still leveled off very high. And we're looking around almost $3 million. Now we get a good portion of that back through the reimbursement later, but as we point out every year, we pay it and then we eventually get it reimbursed back. It's not like we get, you know, reimbursed first and then pay it. I don't know why they just don't reduce it in your payment when you pay, but probably something to do with interest. Health insurance, we're looking at about $3.4 million for 25-26. It was an 8.7% increase on our premiums over last year. So we've been pretty lucky the last 4 or 5 years. I think our highest increase was 7% in the last 4 or 5 years. This is trending up. It's probably going to stay in that area, or perhaps be a little bit higher next year. So it's something we're just going to have to keep an eye on. Is people throughout the consortium age and you know, have more challenging health issues, then the insurance rates just going to go up. This is good compared to a lot of districts, I can tell you that. Like our consortium is a lot better than places I've heard about that aren't in the consortium. They're going up by 15-20%, but still 8.7, so big chunk to handle. Cyber charter costs, just kind of shows you where we are, where we're projected. So this year we're 805. We're thinking we're going to come in pretty darn close to that number. Next year, like I said, 795. You can see where we were pre-COVID. It was, you know, we're around 400,000. So that's definitely something that jumped up, and it stayed up, and we've got a little higher. It's not necessarily the number of kids going into cyber charters increasing, but it's just the cost. The formula is driving it up, which you can see in this slide. So for a kid, a regular ed student, right on 16,000, we're projecting next year. 38,000 for the student has special education issues, IEP. So kids with a disability, 38,000, and you know, you can see where that's kind of steadily gone up. The special
first of all, I want to say great job on the budget by you and your staff and everyone here in the district. It's a very good budget. Appreciate the job that you did and the whole staff. Also, the EIT was going up just a little bit. Why did that go up just a slight? I mean, it's a nice bucket of money that's in there, but what was the reason for that going up?
I think it's just basic payroll increases for people who live in the borough is basically what it is. We had a pretty big jump a couple of years ago, which we can't officially tie it to something, but we assumed it tied pretty directly to the increases that Guthrie gave when they raised their salaries over there by a good chunk. And so we've been pleasantly surprised with our EIT the last couple of years. It's just kind of back into the level out stage. Unless Guthrie decides to get a big raise again.
And Barry, again, I want to say thank you too for also putting in the line there for the bus monitors and the security there too. I mean, I appreciate that for one. I think our constituents and our community is really going to appreciate that too.
Chair, just since you said it, Ron, I do want to thank my staff and everybody in the district. I mean, this is definitely a team process from start to finish. We sat down with each, building principal. We sat down with rec. We go through athletic. We talk to Trish with special education, and we go piece by piece through it. And we say, okay, what's your, first budget, and then start thinking about if you need to cut, what are you going to cut? Because we're never sure where we're going to be, and cover those things. So we always preach conservative, and everybody's really kind of taken hold of that. So thanks to everybody that participates in the process.
Yeah, great job, everyone. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? All right, let's move along here. We got one roll call vote for an RFP award. The motion is to approve the Wayfair Sports floors to replace the high school gym floor for a cost not to exceed $295,000 via tips in their local purchasing system agreement. So we have a motion and a second on this award.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Questions or comments? I guess my question would be, this is the first time this gym floor has been replaced, am I correct?
I believe that to be accurate. We're trying to fact check that, but from what I've heard from everybody, yes, this would be the first time since the original gym floor is put in. Since you mentioned that, what we plan to do with the old floor actually is we're going to cut it into 12 by 12 sections and 24 by 24s. We'll cut out the Redskin heads, the lettering, and we're going to sell those. I'm not totally sure what we're going to price them at yet, but we're going to sell those. So if people want to, have a piece of the gym floor for posterity's sake, we'll make that available for them.
Thank you, Mr. Claypool. And like I said, for a floor that lasted for 50+ years, that's remarkable.
It probably should have been sanded about 20 years ago. But
Yeah.
Good sanded.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, Mrs. Lucheko.
We'll begin with Mrs. Agnew.
Yes.
Mrs. White.
Yes.
Mr. Hickey.
Yes.
Mr. Petrini.
Yes.
Mr. Root.
Yes.
Mr. Skirvon.
Yes.
Mr. Cole.
Yes. High school principals report. Mrs. Ely, good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. So to start off, PSSA exams went very well. Our attendance was very impressive here at the high school, so thank you to parents and students for making sure that their kids were here and on time. Also, a big thank you to the teachers and staff that were involved to make it all run smoothly. Good job to everyone, and now we roll right into Keystone exams, which start next Monday, the 12th. We are holding our senior sports recognition this Wednesday evening. Families and coaches were invited last month to this. We look forward to a nice evening of recognizing our senior athletes and band members. From there, I'll be heading here to the auditorium for the Spring Band and Chorus concert. So join me for that this Wednesday at 7 p.m. I know it will be excellent. This Thursday, we will have recess day here at the high school. It's sure to be a fun day, and we will end the day with a kickball competition of seniors versus staff. There will be a 7th and 8th grade dance this Friday at 5 p.m. here we're using the gym and the cafeteria. Students do need to be academically eligible to attend that. And lastly, it is Teacher Appreciation Week. And so I want to thank all the teachers district-wide for caring about our SARE students and working every day to help them grow. I especially want to thank Jeff Maximiak and Mike Marino as they end their teaching careers here in a few weeks and head off into sunny retirement. Kudos to both of them for a job well done. Enjoy your next chapter in life. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Mrs. Ely. Mrs. Morale, good evening.
Good evening, everyone. I second what Mrs. Ely said about PSSA testing. It went very well. We had great attendance. Thank you to everybody who made it such a seamless process. We're finishing up with the mobile dentist this week at Snyder. It heads over to high school later this week, so we hope everybody remembers to brush their teeth and floss extra well if you have an appointment to visit with them. They're a great group of people. Again, thank you. As Mrs. Ely pointed out, it is Teacher Appreciation Week. We are grateful to everybody who helps make a difference in our students' lives every day. 2 invitations for the board and to parents. This Thursday is the Snyder Spring Fling from 5 to 7:30, rain or shine. It's going to be a great time by all. The board is invited to 6th grade promotion ceremony, so if you plan on attending, please call me, text me, email me, and let me know. We'll put a place for you on the stage. PBAS rostering began last week with administration. Mrs. Ely and I worked on that, and it's turned over to the teachers. What that is, it's the growth index that teachers track for their students that take PSSA tests. It tracks that growth of students as they move through the testing process, and that ultimately becomes part of their score when they receive their 13-1 at the end of the school year. So that will finish up. It will move back to administration and move to Dr. Tejan for final approval. We'll have that finished by hopefully the end of the school year. Thank you to PTG. It's Book Fair week this week at school at Snyder, and thank you to the volunteers who make all of that possible for our students. We couldn't do it without them. That's all that I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Morale.
You're welcome.
Last item 17, Mrs. Zagdu, you have over to the Northern Tier Career Center. Our next meeting is May 15th at 6:30 p.m. They're getting ready to wrap up things down at the North Towanda campus. Just want to let everyone know that you're invited as well to the May 22nd Awards Day. The SARE students will be having their awards day down there at 1 p.m. in the afternoon. Let me tell you what, that is a fantastic event to go to. And again, everyone is welcome. I mean, there is loads of awards that are offered thanks to a lot of our local businesses around the area. I want to also throw out there that there are 71 students currently participating in their co-op program down there. And also in LPN news, that 38 students in that program, all of them have passed their IV therapy final exam, and the 2024 student graduates, 33, 34, have taken Nichols NCLEX board exam, and the current pass rate down there is 92%. So that is very good, and it is a very challenging exam, I have to say. So that's everything from the Career Center. Take a quick sip here and tell you, as far as PSBA is concerned, there was the current state of education for 2025. I just want to go down through a few things. I'm probably going to take a few things of what Mr. Claypool told us. But first of all, graduation rates in Pennsylvania right now are 87.5%. We're right about in that mid range as well. Special ed students in the state have increased by over 20% in 10 years. And proficiency categories for PSSA scores, ELA, math, and sciences, we are right where rural districts and our demographics are for the most part. And overall, these scores statewide are lucky to be into the high 60s range. Largest challenges for the 23-24 student are student mental health needs, followed by financial pressures of the districts, then staffing shortages. Charter school costs, as Mr. Claypool showed in his slide, are the largest financial concern. Fees, pensions lead the way in the expense category. Basic education funding continues to outgrow revenues, as we saw, due to mandated expenses. And right now, they claim that 60 cents of every dollar spent in school districts are for instructional needs, almost 2/3 of the budget. And future concerns are in budgeting and staffing. The state mandates still quite concerning. Substitute teaching is leading the way where shortages are. Special education certifications as well have very low numbers for people that are hoping that we can get into the special education field. Finally, I'll say this again, I'm very thankful for our financial leadership team that we have and their job performance as well as the rest of our staff. There are concerns what the next 5 years or so will be bringing. This report isn't great, but it's telling me right where we are currently as far as the Commonwealth schools are. As far as our demographics and size, we're not alone basically for all the issues and planning that all the school districts, again, within our realm, are having at the current moment. One other thing, we do have one delegate slot still left open for October for the Delegates Committee. If anyone would like to participate, just let me know. Other than that, that's everything I have from the PSBA. Now I'll open up to any committee reports out there. No committee reports. See, everybody's doing well, so. Other than that, again, I want to thank the board and administrators and their staff for the continued work on projects and issues and everything that they're doing here in the district. Thank you so much, everyone. Again, those planning, as Mrs. Ely mentioned, that they're planning on going to any of the graduation ceremonies, and Mrs. Morrell, I don't want to forget Mrs. Morrell. Please let Mrs. Shedden know if you're coming to the high school graduation or if you're coming over to the 6th grade exercises that our friends over at Snyder know. And let's see here. I think that's one of the best school days of the year, by the way. I love those.
It's even better now that there's new sound systems.
Moving along. We have a busy month though, May, and again, with the concerts, and the concerts begin at 7 o'clock tomorrow night, the 5th and 6th grade musical, 7 o'clock here in the auditorium, 7 o'clock for the musical on the 7th. Boy, my calendar is working, Mrs. Morrell. And also, the spring fling up at Snyder, she mentioned 5 till 7:30. I'm going to reiterate that for May the 8th. And again, I want to say congratulations to our senior class of 2025. And don't forget to take a look at the Facebook and school district web pages, loaded with student activities like it always is. Other than that, Dr. Tejan, you're up.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Last week, I was able to attend the Rotary Top 10 banquet to celebrate the hard work and dedication of our top 10 seniors who will be graduating in just a few weeks. It was a lovely event, and I was honored to be a part of it, so congratulations to all of them. Special thanks to Mrs. Ramsey for being here tonight with your FBL thorough, I got to cross off all of my upcoming events on my list. So thank you everyone for that.
Thank you, Dr. Teach, and now I gotta get my papers back out here and let everybody know that our next school board meeting will be on May the 19th, right here in the auditorium at 7 p.m. Also, the curriculum and instruction committee meeting will be tomorrow night at 5:30 p.m. down in these administrative offices. Is there anything anyone else would like to bring before the board at this time, or would like to say at this time? Other than that, it's time to adjourn. We have a motion